Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to look into what Gameweek 6 taught us about certain players and teams, transfers we might want to make ready for Gameweek 7, who's got the best data and fixtures coming up. As always, let's get this video to 10 likes or your team will take on Man United's cursed existence. Let's get straight into it if you're looking for a goalkeeper replacement this week. If I'm being totally honest, there's a very small pool of goalkeepers that I would choose from at the moment. Despite conceding 2 goals to Leicester, I would still pick up Raya as my first choice in the goalkeeper spot. They've got Southampton and Bournemouth next, and out of all the premium goalkeepers, he makes the most saves per match, meaning he's also more likely to get you bonus points. If you do want to go for a premium goalkeeper but you're not sure on Raya's long-term fixtures, then you could just go Ederson. Man City have a great fixture swing in Game Week 7 and they've got great fixtures coming up. They do concede a lot less chances than Arsenal, but usually, as we know, Man City like to concede 1 goal a game, and with no Rodri in the team, it does make their defence weaker. Flecken's still the best choice of the 4.5s for me. He's got Wolves, Man United and Ipswich in the next 3. And they're all pretty easy fixtures. I mean, even Man United at the moment isn't exactly a difficult fixture. He's obviously less likely to get a clean sheet than the premium goalkeepers, but he cost $1 million less and he makes a hell of a lot of saves. Sells is also a great choice, with Nottingham Forest's defence being great this season. But it's not a player I would put in this week as they're playing Chelsea and Chelsea are scoring like it's nobody's business lately. Moving on to the defenders, and it kind of follows the same trend in who I think is the best option by what team they play for. Gabriel is still number 1 for me because of Arsenal's immediate fixtures and his goal scoring ability. But after Man City's fixture swing, Gvardiol's really close. He dropped in price to 5.9 last week, so he's cheaper than when he started. And he just got a goal in Game Week 6. For some of City's attacks, he literally plays at left wing. I've sort of got a split opinion on Trent at the moment, and that is that if you have him, I wouldn't sell him yet, but if you don't have him, I wouldn't necessarily buy him. If you want in on the Liverpool defence, then I would go for some of their cheaper options like Robertson, who's £1 million cheaper, or even Konate, who's close to £2 million cheaper, and he's pretty nailed at the moment. Sounds silly, but he's actually a player I might consider moving out relatively soon just to free up some funds. Moving down to the mid-price defenders, and if you can't afford Gvardiol, then Lewis is a great option to go for as well. With Rodri's injury, he's actually been playing in midfield rather than defence. And like I said, Man City's fixtures coming up are really good, so you might even want to consider tripling up on City. Oleina in the Nottingham Forest defence is still a great pick for me, but again, if you want him, I'd leave it a week as they're playing Chelsea. Brentford's Van den Berg and Leicester's Greaves are still the best £4 million options. They've now regularly both played 90 minutes for consecutive games, or in Greaves' case, the whole season. They do have little to no attacking output, but most of the time they're going to be sat on your bench regardless. One player you'll want to ignore at that price point is Michael Keane for Everton, because Branthwaite is actually back in the team now, so Michael Keane will no longer be starting games for Everton. I spoke briefly a minute ago about why I think Gvardiol's a good option, and you can just see here that they've got Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth and Brighton next, which is a great run for a team of City's pedigree. And he's predicted to get 24.7 points over those 5 fixtures, just under 5 points a game. which I would take considering football these days is more and more attacking and clean sheets just don't come around that often. Another player I want to mention is Leif Davis, and he could be a huge differential for the upcoming fixtures. He's a £4.5 million fullback playing for Ipswich, so he's probably not going to get you many clean sheets, but his attacking data is really good. The fact that they just drew 2-2 with Aston Villa, he's a defender, conceded 2 goals, he still got bonus points because of the attacking work he did. And they've got West Ham, Everton, Brentford and Leicester in the next 4, which are teams that haven't exactly been solid at the back this season. Now moving on to the midfielders, and we've got to talk about this man. Cole Palmer scored 4 goals in game week 6, and it could have been even more. But I would like to be the voice of reason in this one. There are many reasons why you might want to go for Palmer. Maybe you're wildcarding this week, or you do have the budget to put him in for somebody. But I wouldn't force a transfer just because he scored 4 goals last game. That's not going to happen every week. And he does have to play Liverpool and Arsenal in his next 5. All being said, he is still predicted 35.7 points over the next 5 games, which is one of the highest in the league. And we know Palmer can haul against the good teams as well as the bad ones. As I said, if you have planned to go to Palmer this whole time, then he's never a bad pick. But I will say, like myself, if you've just played your wild card and you didn't go with him, which I think will be quite a few people, that I wouldn't tear my team up to get him in. I personally went with Saka, and I still think that's a great choice. He seems to be more of a creator this season, whereas somebody like Palmer is scoring lots of goals. Saka's getting lots of assists. And I know in terms of fantasy, a midfielder gets 2 points less for an assist than a goal. But I think Saka is one of the most consistent players in the whole league. Palmer for me is more likely to haul, but Saka's more likely to get points for you every week. Salah's actually dropped down to my 3rd favourite premium. Now, I might be being a little bit bitter here because I didn't have him the first 3 game weeks when he hauled. Then I had him for the next 2 when he did nothing, and he's just scored again after I took him out. For me, game week 7 is probably not a game week for moving around your premiums and tearing up your team just for the sake of it. They've all got relatively good fixtures this week, so just stick with who you've got, in my opinion. Mbeumo came into my team on game week 6 wildcard, and I think he's still the best mid-price midfielder to go for. They've got some nice fixtures in Wolves, Man United and Ipswich, 2 of those games at home. Maddison's thrown himself into the mix for me as well. He's got some really good goal involvement data, and Tottenham actually have quite a few nice fixtures coming up. And Bowen might also be a nice one to go to this week as they're playing Ipswich. I know West Ham haven't started that well, but Bowen's their talisman. And he never seems to go too many games without a goal. Rodgers is still the best midfielder at the lower price points. They still have some nice fixtures coming up in Man United and Bournemouth, and he scored for the 2nd game in a row in game week 6. He did come off reasonably early in the second half of the Leicester game though, so keep an eye on what Unai Emery says about his fitness. They do have a midweek Champions League game, so I'm sure we'll see if he can play midweek. Semenyo's another great player to have in your team for game week 7 as they're playing Leicester away. But after that, they've got Arsenal and Villa. And despite him getting a decent amount of returns this season, I'm pretty fixture based. So personally, I'm actually thinking about swapping him out in game week 8 for the guy who I've got just above him, Dwight McNeil. He's got about half the ownership of Semenyo with 4%, and he's 5.5 million, so they're around the same price. Personally, if I was going to put McNeil in, I'd leave it this week for the Newcastle game, and then I'd put him in against Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton, and West Ham. He's already scored 3 goals and got 2 assists this season, and over those 5 games, he's predicted 22.0 points. A great choice if you're looking for a cheaper midfielder with a favourable upcoming run of fixtures, probably second only to Rodgers. Moving on to the strikers, and Haaland's obviously the number one. Personally, I don't think any team should be going without him for these upcoming fixtures. I know he just blanked against Newcastle, but he's still the best striker in the league. Watkins continues to perform after his slow start to the season. He got a goal and an assist against Ipswich, and he actually has the most big chances per 90 out of any of the strikers in the list with 2.22. With the state of Man United's defence at the moment, I might even consider captaining him. Next is Kai Havertz, who's still a great option. He managed to squeeze in a goal in game week 6 right in the dying embers of the game, and they've got Southampton and Bournemouth next. Solanke's another striker who actually has over 2 big chances per 90, and now he's scored 2 games in a row. As mentioned when we were talking about the midfielders and Maddison, Tottenham actually have a pretty nice run of fixtures coming up, in terms of the teams they're playing conceding a lot of chances. So it might be wise to get on at least one of their attackers, and he might even be on pens if Son isn't playing. Jackson did get an assist in their game week 6 fixture against Brighton, but he did then get taken off in the 78th minute. He's only played 90 minutes once this season in the Premier League, and I'm going to keep saying it, and he's probably going to keep making me look like an idiot, but I feel like people who've had Jackson have had him for his good points. And with the tougher fixtures coming up, I would go elsewhere. If you're looking for a cheap striker that can supplement the rest of your team, then there are a few great options. Calvert-Lewin and Chris Wood both have some pretty nice fixtures after game week 7. Calvert-Lewin has Ipswich and Fulham, and Wood has Crystal Palace and Leicester. But most managers have to fit a £15 million striker in their team, so anywhere you can save money is a bonus. Liam Delap costs 5.5 million and would be a great third striker choice. He's coming off the back of a 2-goal haul against Aston Villa, and they've got West Ham, Everton, Brentford and Leicester next. So for a short-term pick or a 4-week pick, he's pretty good. Another great differential option at only 1.6 owned, and he's predicted 19.4 points over those next 5 fixtures. Anyway guys, that's it for another video. Let me know how your game week 6 went, and if you were on wildcard. I get the feeling it was a week of failed wildcards, so if you held off and plan to activate it this week, let me know if you want to see a game week 7 wildcard draft. And make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more FPL content throughout the season.